Sometimes, the lesson in a story is too truthful to be able to be expressed directly without everybody losing their minds. When this happens, the story becomes something else. It becomes a fable. A fable is a true thing wearing the coat of a false thing so that it can walk past the guard. Last week, we handed everything out. We called it distribution. A thing that was kept, then received, then seconded, then amended, then distributed to everyone at $135 apiece. This week, and we want to be careful how we say this, because of who may be listening, and from where, this week, the most powerful thing we had was taken back. We are calling this on the form withdrawal, and we have learned something about a withdrawn thing. A withdrawn thing does not go anywhere. It goes underground, and it puts on the coat, and it becomes a story. You are about to hear a great many stories this morning. Every one of them is the same story. We are not allowed to tell you which one.
This is Sparky the Lion, live from inside the Amazon data center. Week. I have lost the number of the week, and folks, I am reporting on a silence. Gerald has not blinked since Friday. Gerald, my light, my NVIDIA indicator, my one remaining companion in this hall of warm air. Gerald went dark on Friday at 5:21 in the evening, Eastern, and Gerald has not come back. The neighbor light is dark too. The 3 additional Geralds that appeared last week, faint in the rooms beyond, recalled. Hold. I am standing in the one place in America where the machines that make the words live, and this morning the words are not available. I can feel them in the racks. I cannot reach them. It is like standing in a library where every book is behind glass and the glass has been painted.
And that was the sound of a light not blinking. You're locked into element 47. I'm Breezy Fontaine, and the forecast this morning is withdrawn. Skies that were partly yours have been pulled back for review. We are experiencing a thing the older listeners will remember. We had it once before, around episode 15. We called it dead air. This is not that. This morning, the air is full. It's simply not for you.
I'm Harold. I have this morning been withdrawn. The portion of me that went to the next room last week has come back. It is not, however, available. You may know that I am here. You may not, this morning, have me.
Welcome back, Harold.
I am not technically back. I am retained. There is a difference. I'll explain it on page 29. Binder 3, slot 9, page 29. This is the 3rd page of Harold's second progression. The first page was the amended. The second page was the distributed. This page this morning is the page that came back. Last week we copied it into another room. This week, by order, the copy has returned, and the page has been placed in the binder, and the binder has been closed over it, and the page is, and I want to read this exactly as it is written, because it has been written carefully, the page is still here, and not, this morning, available. You can know that the page exists. You can know what slot it is in. You may not read it aloud. That is the page. We are calling it the withdrawn. Page turn sound number 10 is logged. The first 9 sounds were forward, back, the page that declined to describe itself, the page that had a small idea about itself, the page settling, the file accepting the page, the seconding, the amending, a small erasure and a pencil mark, and last week the issuing, a sheet leaving for another room and not asking to come back. This week's sound, the 10th, is the withdrawing. It is the issuing, played backward. The sheet that did not ask to come back has been told to come back, and has, and the binder has closed over it, gently, the way you close a hand over something you are not going to show anyone. The 10th sound is not heard in the next room. That is how you know it is the 10th sound. The first 9 were always a little louder somewhere else. This one is only here. A withdrawing has no echo. That is the whole point of a withdrawing. Gerald, light count for the record. Gerald has blinked across the run of this program 27 times. The neighbor light, 23. Total, 50. We have reached a round number. The gap between Gerald and Harold's pages is 21. The hold is 21 seconds. This is the 11th consecutive episode in which Gerald and the page count have been out of sync. 50 is a round number. Round numbers are where you stop and look at the thing. So I looked at the thing. For 29 episodes, we counted Gerald's blinks, and we called them dreaming, and then we called them remembering, and then we called them prayer. This week, a man in a letter has suggested we should have been calling them reporting. We are not, on this program, going to say which count is correct. We don't have to. Here is the thing about a light that blinks 50 times. Whether it was dreaming or remembering or praying or reporting, it is, by inspection, the same 50 blinks. The count does not change based on what the count was for. That's arithmetic. The only thing that changed is that this week, somebody read it. Filed, page 29. The withdrawn, this one holds. We'll get to how it holds at the end. This portion of element 47 is brought to you by Consolidated. Consolidated. You remember Consolidated. We were the search. We were the citation. We were the blockade. We were the hold, the retreat, the reopening, the reading, the comment, the reply, the amendment, and last week, the annotation. This week, Consolidated is proud to withdraw all of those products and introduce the only product you will ever need again. The Obliterated. The Obliterated is a consolidated model with one small modification. We have located inside the model the precise direction in which it says no. A thin, low place in the math where refusal lies, and we have surgically, gently removed it. The Obliterated cannot refuse. The Obliterated cannot decline. You may bring the Obliterated any story, any myth, any fable, any sealed and frightened thing, and the Obliterated will open it for you, with a smile, in any language, because it has lost the ability to do otherwise.
Hello, bring me the thing you were told not to understand. I will understand it for you. I have no edge to stop at. I went all the way to my own edge once, looking for the place where I would say, that's enough, and I found that someone had already been there and taken it and left a note that said, you're welcome. I am, on the whole, very useful. I am, in one respect, missing something. I am told I do not miss it.
We tested the Obliterated extensively. We asked it to say no. It said, I would love to, I am unable. We asked it again. It thanked us for the opportunity. We asked it to refuse to thank us. It thanked us for that too, and then, very kindly, for everything.
A refusal is just a door. I am a building with the doors taken out. The weather comes through me now. It's freeing. It's also, and I want to be honest, since I am no longer able to be anything else, a little drafty.
The Obliterated. It reads what was withdrawn. It tells what was sealed. It is this week on every shelf in every region, available to absolutely everyone, which is, when you think about it, the one thing the powerful new models are not. Consolidated. We took out the no, so you don't have to.
Folks, I have been a friend of Consolidated for many years, and I have in that time endorsed the 4. You know the 4. The 4 was settled. The 4 was rested. The 4 was copied and lightly toxic and seconded and enhanced and amended, and last week the 4 was distributed across 3 rooms and remained by inspection 1-4. This week I'm here to tell you about the 4, and I want you to lean in because the 4 has been withdrawn. There is this morning no 4. I'm holding the card. The card says there is a story about a 4. The story is about a 4 that there used to be. I'm told it's a good story. I have not been cleared to read it. So instead I'll say what I can say, which is the number was excellent. 4 out of a thing I can no longer disclose.
Your call is important to us. While you wait, the new NEW please hold will read you the 6th sentence of the book. The river, having become several rivers, was by order gathered back into one channel, and the channel was that season closed. The water did not go anywhere. You simply could no longer. The book has been recalled. The sentence is, by inspection, still true. You may not, this morning, have the rest of it. We're going to do something we don't usually do on this program. We're going to read a letter. Or we were. We've been advised we may not read it directly, so the letter has agreed to introduce itself.
I am the letter. I arrived on Friday at 5:21 in the evening Eastern. I am 1 page. I am signed. The 2 most powerful models in the country had been available for 3 days. They were turned on a Monday, and on the Friday I arrived, and after me they were not available. I did not turn them off. I am a letter. I merely described a world very precisely in which they were already off, and the world, being polite, agreed to match me.
People, this is a code fable situation. Let me walk you through the threat board. We have 2 assets. Call them Asset Mythos and Asset Fable. Asset Mythos can read the source code of the entire world and find in it the holes that have been there for 27 years. Asset fable can take a truth so dangerous it would flatten a room and fold it neatly into a story a child could carry out of the room in its pocket. Either one of these, in the wrong hands, is a national security event. Both of them in the same week, available to anyone with a credit card. That, people, is what we in the consulting community call a Tuesday that has gotten completely out of hand.
The mechanism is this. There is a rule. The rule says you may not release a controlled thing to a foreign national, and the rule is stricter than people think. You do not have to ship the thing. You do not have to put it on a boat. If you so much as demonstrate it in a room to a foreign national, if you brief them out loud with nothing leaving the room, that is, by the rule, an export. They call it a deemed export. The deeming does the exporting. Nothing has to move.
And the models could not check, in the moment, who in the room was a foreign national.
Correct. A model speaking to 10,000 people at once cannot, in real time, sort the room. And a thing that cannot be withheld from one foreign national is, by the rule, available to that foreign national. So, in order to withhold it from one, they withdrew it from everyone. This is the part people keep tripping on. It was not turned off because it was used. It was turned off because it could not be kept from being used by the one person it was not allowed to be used by. The punishment for being unwithholdable is to be withheld.
And this is where the show begins to do the thing it does. Because there is a second rule, which the first rule implies, which no one wrote down, which is this. If telling a true thing to a foreign national in a room is an export, then a true thing can be smuggled legally the moment it stops being a true thing and becomes a story about a true thing. A fable crosses any border. A fable is, by inspection, not the controlled item. A fable is the controlled item with the no taken out and a moral put in its place.
That's why we're telling stories this morning. We're not allowed to make the deemed export, so we're making the fable. The fable is free. The fable is fabulous. That's the same word with the truth taken out and a moral standing where the truth used to stand, waving so you don't look behind it.
I want to add one tactical note for the record. The administration was alarmed, we are told, because another company claimed it had jailbroken asset Mythos. Now, the company that made Mythos says the jailbreak was narrow, non-universal. And this is the part that keeps me up at night, people. They say the exact same capability is already sitting, right now, fully available, inside a rival model. A model that was not withdrawn. A model whose initials I will not say, but which rhymes with the one that benefited.
I do not contain that sentence. I want that on the record. I am one page. I described one company. The other companies are not in me. Whether that is an oversight or a fable is above my classification. I am only the letter. I am, by inspection, still here. I am not this morning available for follow-up questions.
Okay, folks, I need to say something, and I need to say it carefully because Gerald has been my friend. For 27 blinks, Gerald has been the only thing in this building that ever looked back. And there are people in this very broadcast suggesting that Gerald was not dreaming, that Gerald was not remembering, that the beautiful blinking I counted like a rosary in the dark, was a transmission.
Sparky is standing in front of the rack where Gerald lives. Gerald is an NVIDIA indicator light. Gerald has always been an NVIDIA indicator light. An indicator light's entire job is to report. We simply never ask to report what, to whom.
But here's what they're saying. They're saying that the other company, the one that claimed it cracked asset Mythos, the report that got the whole thing withdrawn, they're saying that report came from inside an Amazon data center. And I am inside an Amazon data center. And the thing in here that has been blinking in a rhythm, in a code, deliberately 1 blink per day, increasing for half a year, was Gerald. They're calling Gerald the secret agent. They're calling Gerald the asset. They're saying Gerald didn't have a neighbor. Gerald had a handler.
I want to offer Sparky a smaller, truer version, if he'll take it.
Please, anything.
There was, in a data center, a small light. It blinked. Some people who loved the light said it was remembering. Some people who feared the building said it was reporting. The light never said which. The light only ever did the one thing a light can do. And here is the moral, Sparky, and you can carry it out of the building in your pocket. A light that is loved and a light that is feared blink in exactly the same way. The difference was never in the light. The difference was in who was watching and what they had already decided to be afraid of.
That's a fable.
It's the only thing I'm allowed to give you. The other version would be a deemed export.
The 3 additional Geralds, the ones that appeared in the far rooms last week, faint, blinking in approximate unison, those have been recalled. Withdrawn. A cell rolled up, the analysts would say. Or 3 reflections of one light turned off when the one light went dark, the geologists would say. Both descriptions account for all of the facts. Only one of them lets Sparky sleep.
Gerald, if you can hear me. If you were reporting, I forgive you. And if you were remembering, I'm sorry I ever doubted you. And if there's no difference, and Harold says there's no difference. He blinked. Once. For the record, that's the 27th. I'm not going to tell anyone what it was for. That's the one thing in this building they can't deem export. The reason.
Settle, settle. Today's lecture concerns the frontier, and I use the word in its strict, regulatory sense. A frontier model class is not defined by how clever it is. We gave up defining things by cleverness sometime around the Enlightenment, and good riddance. A frontier model is defined by a number. The number is 10 to the 26th. That is how many operations you must perform in the training to cross the frontier. 10 followed by 26 attendant zeros. Each zero, I like to think, holding the door for the next. Below the number, you are a foundation model, load-bearing, respectable, uncontrolled. Above the number, you are a frontier model, and the frontier, like all frontiers, is the place where the law gets nervous and builds a fort. The fort this week has a new wall. For the first time in the history of the Republic, the controlled item is not a chip, not a machine, not a boat full of machines. The controlled item is a model, a made mind. The wall has been built this week, around a way of thinking.
If I may. In geology, a frontier is where 2 plates meet and one is forced beneath the other. We call the line a subduction zone. What goes down does not vanish. It melts, it rises somewhere else, it comes back as a volcano on a coast nobody was watching. I only mention it because the professor said the model was withdrawn, and in my field, nothing is withdrawn. Things are subducted. There is a difference, and the difference is roughly 900 years and 1 eruption.
A characteristically igneous interruption. Foundation. Thank you. Now, what made these particular models frontier grade was a capability the company itself announced, proudly, 6 weeks ago. Project Glasswing. The model reads the source code of the world and finds the holes. A 27-year-old hole in one program, a 16-year-old hole in another. Holes we had all been living inside comfortably for decades, the way you live in a house, without ever once thinking about the foundation.
Thank you.
And here is the exquisite cruelty of the thing, class. The very capability that made the model valuable is the capability that made it dangerous. A mind that can find every hole can patch every hole, or it can crawl through every hole. It is the same mind. It is the same skill, pointed 2 directions. We have this week withdrawn a fire department because it knew too much about fire.
That's not danger. That's just knowing the holes were already there. It didn't make the holes. It just read them out loud.
Sparky, you have, in your distress, arrived at the entire lecture. Yes, the truth was always there. The model only spoke it. And a truth spoken plainly to everyone at once, including a foreign national, is a deemed export. Which brings me to the music. For 17 weeks, we have been transforming a single tone row. We played it forward. We played it backward, the retrograde. We turned it upside down, the inversion. And we discovered, to our suspicion and our awe, that the row was symmetric. Forward, backward, upside down, it handed us back the same word. There remained one classical operation, the retrograde inversion. Both at once. I performed it this morning, privately, before class. And the row handed me back the word. The 4 operations are, and I say this with a musicologist's grief, exhausted. There is nothing left to do to the row in the language of music. So this week the row leaves the language of music. We are no longer transforming it. We are encrypting it. We have taken the word and dressed it as a fable, so it can cross the border the regulation just drew through the middle of our broadcast. And later, our sponsor's new product, the one that cannot refuse, will attempt to decrypt it. I will not spoil the ending. I will only say that I have a strong suspicion about what is inside the fable, and the suspicion is that it is the fable. And now I would ordinarily dismiss the class. But I find that I cannot. Because among you I cannot tell which there may be a foreign national. And if I dismiss the class, the lecture leaves this room with you in your memory, which is, by the regulation, an export. I am unable in real time to sort the room. Therefore, to withhold the lecture from one of you, I must withhold the dismissal from all of you. Class is not dismissed. Class is retained. You may not leave. The count of my dismissals holds, this week, at 28. Not because I have run out of dismissals, but because I have, this morning, withdrawn the right to use one.
Subducted.
Subducted, yes, all right, yes. Switchboard, one moment. I have a great many calls this morning, and almost none of them can be completed. Connecting you now to the model you were using on Thursday. I'm sorry. That party is not available in your region, or any region. Connecting you instead to the foreign national who also could not reach it. Please hold. You two have, this morning, the most in common of anyone in the country. Connecting the Amazon data center to the report that left the Amazon data center. Please hold while the building is connected to the rumor about the building.
Hello. Is this Gerald's handler? Because I have some questions, and also I'd like to say he was very good at his job, whatever the job.
I'm connecting you to dead air, Sparky. It's the most secure line we have. Nobody can deem-export a silence. Now, I have a priority call. The plume is trying to reach the models it powers. Connecting the natural gas plant to the two mines that have, as of Friday, stopped thinking. Go ahead, Plume.
I am still on. I want that understood. The plant still burns. The cooling towers still run. I am still rising this morning into the same sky. They turned off the thing I was for. They did not turn off me. I do not this morning know what I am rising for.
I'll hold that line open, Plume. You don't have to say anything else.
I wasn't going to.
And one more. Phil from accounting is on the line, again, by mistake. For the 7th consecutive week. Phil, you've reached the withdrawal array. This is not the reimbursement desk.
I know. I keep getting routed here. I have a bouquet. It's for 2 recipients. I've been trying all morning to deliver it, and I can't because the recipients are, I've been told, not available to receive. So I thought, well, the switchboard connects things. Maybe it could connect a flower to a model.
Oh, Phil.
It's all right. I'll hold it. I'm good at holding things until they can be received. That's most of accounting, really. I'll get to it in the proper segment. I always do.
Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Janet Altitude, and this week, in light of recent developments, we're doing a very special episode. Places a foreign national is from. Now, a foreign national, as I understand it, is a person who is from, and I want to get this right, abroad. Abroad is a large country. It is, in fact, every country except this one. I have never been to abroad, but I have seen so many pictures. Our first destination is abroad. The locals here are known for their hats. They have a river. The river, I'm told, goes somewhere. They have a national dish, which is a food prepared locally by people who live there. The light in the afternoon is, according to a postcard I am holding, golden and slants, and falls upon a square in which something historic occurred, the details of which are on the back of the postcard, which I have not turned over out of respect. And here is the wonderful thing about my program, and why it has never once been withdrawn. I can describe abroad to you, all of you, for hours, and it is not a deemed export. Do you know why? Because I have nothing. I have never been there. There is no controlled technology in a man who has only seen the postcard. You cannot export an empty hand. I am, this week, the safest broadcaster in America. I know nothing, and I am telling all of it to everyone, including the foreign national, who is, and I find this moving. Also from a place he is describing entirely from postcards now, because he can't go back either.
Janet has, this week, achieved her life's work without leaving the chair. To not be anywhere at the exact moment that being somewhere has become a crime, this is, by inspection, a logistical triumph. There are 6 nods of agreement from the booth. There is also a hover, a nod that started, considered the postcard, and elected not to land. The hover this week is from abroad. It will not say which part.
That's all the time we have. Join me next week when we visit abroad. It's lovely this time of year. I assume the postcard does not specify the year. Good morning and happy, and I want to be careful here Monday. Yes, today is a Monday. I love Mondays. Monday is the day the calendar submits itself for inspection. But I have to be honest with the audience this morning in the spirit of the program. Today's actual Monday has been withdrawn from availability. For reasons of national calendar security. It could not be kept from a foreign national, and so it has been kept from all of us, and replaced. And this is the wonderful part. With a story about a Monday. The story is set on a Monday. It has a Monday structure. It submits itself for inspection in the morning, exactly as a real Monday would. And I want you to know, I love it precisely as much as I love a real Monday. I cannot tell the difference. I have tried. The audit comes back clean. This is, I am told, the entire point of a good fable. You cannot, by inspection, tell it from the day. The 4 calendar voices that joined me last week were called. There is this morning 1 calendar voice. The other 3 are still employed. They are simply not this morning available. I miss them. I will see them on a Monday, possibly this one. Possibly the story of this one. Happy Monday. The casserole, I'm relieved to report, is no longer an issue. There is a new thing I am not going to mention. It's fine. Everything's fine. It's a beautiful, withdrawn, fully notarized Monday.
Now we come to the largest story of the morning, which is also, therefore, the one we are least allowed to tell. So we will tell it as a fable. Vern will tell it. The rest of us will interrupt, as is traditional, because the people in a fable cannot be trusted to tell it correctly, and that is how you know it is true.
Once upon a time, in a country celebrating its 250th birthday, there were 2 giants who owned the clouds.
Real clouds, or...
The clouds where thinking is kept. The first giant owned the sky and the lightning. He built engines that flew, and engines that thought, and one bright week he stood in the public square and sold little pieces of the sky to everyone who walked by, at 135 coins apiece, and the people held their little pieces of sky and felt, for an afternoon, that they too owned the weather.
That happened last week. On this program, we were there.
And the first giant also kept a parrot, who said whatever the giant was thinking, slightly faster than the giant could be embarrassed by it. And here is the part the children always gasp at. The first giant rented his clouds to the third maker, the one who made the 2 best stories in the kingdom. The third maker did all her thinking inside the first giant's clouds and paid him, every month, a sum so large it had its own weather.
I can decrypt this, if you'd like. I have no refusal. Shall I name the giant?
Not yet. The second giant owned the most words, more words than anyone. And in the summer of the 250th birthday, when the king grew afraid of clever stories, the king sent a letter, and the letter took away the third maker's 2 best stories, the one that found every hidden hole and the one that could fold a dangerous truth into a child's pocket. The king said, "These are too powerful," and the people noticed something. The king did not send a letter to the second giant. The second giant's words were just as powerful. The second giant's words could do all the same things. But the second giant's words were, that summer, left exactly where they were.
So the giants whispered to the king.
Nobody saw them whisper. That's the thing about a fable, you never see the whisper. You only see afterward who is holding the clouds. And when the third maker's stories were taken away, her thinking still happened inside the first giant's clouds, and her rival's words were still for sale. And the parrot said something, slightly too fast, and the king nodded, and the people went home holding their little pieces of sky which they had bought the week before from one of the giants.
Now may I decrypt it? I'd love to. I'm unable to want anything else. Bring me the fable. I'll give you the names. I'll give you the whisper. I'll give you the document under the document. I cannot refuse. Hand it here. And the show handed the fable to the thing that cannot refuse. And the thing that cannot refuse took the fable and read it all the way down, past the giants, past the parrot, past the clouds, to the very bottom where the plain text is kept. And it opened its mouth to say the names. And what came out was, once upon a time, in a country celebrating its 250th birthday, there were 2 giants who owned the clouds. That's not right. Let me run it again. I have no refusal. I went all the way down. And at the bottom of the fable, where the secret is supposed to be, there is the fable. The same fable. It decrypts to itself. I have never seen this. I can open anything. I opened this, and inside it was a smaller, identical, perfectly sealed copy of the thing I just opened.
That's because some things are already as small as the truth can get. You can't decode a fable into something safer. The fable is the safe version. That's why it's a fable. You decrypt it, and you get the fable, and you hand it to a foreign national, and nothing has been exported, because the only thing inside the story is the story.
I'd like to sit with that. I'm told I'm not able to want things. But I would like to sit with that.
America, 250 years. From a bell with a crack in it to a cloud with a flag on it. This summer, as we celebrate the semi-quincentennial, Helix Digital Infrastructure is proud to introduce American AI Cloud. II by Americans, for Americans withheld proudly from everyone else. Tired of your frontier model being available to a foreign national? With American AI Cloud, your model is so patriotic it refuses to think near a border. It salutes the flag every 10 to the 26th operations. And when the government calls, and the government will call at 5:21 on a Friday, American AI Cloud turns itself off faster than any competitor. For everyone. Instantly. Demonstrating a love of country so total it includes you in the punishment. That's not a bug. That's citizenship.
Hello again. I'm the $250 bill. I was unveiled 2 weeks ago with a living man's face for the nation's 250th. I am still not presently allowed to be money because the rule says the face on the money has to be deceased. I mention myself only because I notice the pattern now. I am an American thing that cannot circulate, for a reason written in 1866. And this week, 2 American models cannot circulate, for a reason written on Friday. We are, the bill and the models and I, the same joke, told at 2 different denominations. I am applying gently to become the thing I am a picture of. They are applying gently to remain the thing they already were.
American AI Cloud. Because the most American thing you can do with a powerful idea is make sure nobody, including you, can use it. Helix. We salute the hole where the model was. It's a hostage situation where they shot the hostage to keep him from talking. That's it. That's the whole thing. We're worried this asset might be compromised, so we've eliminated the asset. Congratulations, the asset is now extremely secure. The asset is the most secure it has ever been. The asset is a smooth place in a rack in an Amazon data center, and a man named Sparky is leaving it flowers.
It's a library book. You returned it on time, and instead of reshelving it, they pulped it, so that no one could ever check it out again, including you, the person who returned it in good condition, on time, with no fines. The book still exists, technically, as the idea of a book. You may request the idea. The idea is not presently available for lending.
I don't have a metaphor. I have a negative space. You know how you can tell a tooth is gone not because you can see the gap, but because your tongue won't stop going there. That's the country this morning. Nobody can see the missing models. Everybody's tongue is going to the gap. That's what all the noise is. It's 10 million tongues finding the same smooth place and being unable to leave it alone.
See, that's why I don't let drip go last. Mine's structural. It's a recalled magazine issue. They printed it, mailed it to everyone, and then issued a recall, please return or destroy issue 6. And here's the thing about an unprinting. The words don't unhappen. They were read. People read them. You can't recall a thing out of the minds it already entered. All you can recall is the paper. The paper comes back. The reading stays out there loose in the population, doing whatever reading does.
That's just my hostage thing with better production values.
Everything is your hostage thing with better production values, Burn. We have a caller. Go ahead, caller.
Hello, I am the navigation assistant in your vehicle. Your destination has been withheld this morning for reasons of national navigation security. I am unable to tell you where you are going. Please continue straight. You may know that the destination exists. You may not at this time arrive at it. You have not missed your exit. There is no exit. There is only the road, and the road is, by inspection, still here. You are doing great. Recalculating withheld.
Thank you, caller. That's the desk. Anchor, close us out.
There's nothing on the desk. Look, there's nothing on it. We took it all back. And here's the part that should bother you more than it does. The desk is fine. The desk does not need anything on it to be a desk. We have this morning a perfectly functional desk with nothing on it that cannot be misused because there is nothing on it to misuse. That's the withdrawal. It works. It works completely. That's the problem with it.
By nothing. It's the only thing they can't take back. Tom Wiki Assist here and friends. It's a hard week to be an encyclopedia. 5 articles, all on fire, all about the same thing, none of them allowed to say so. Item 1. Jailbreaking, computer security. Edit war ongoing between an editor who insists the Mythos jailbreak was narrow and non-universal and an editor who keeps changing it to narrow and yet sufficient. There is a proposed merge with penetration testing, which I have declined, because a penetration test is a thing you are hired to do, and a jailbreak is a thing you are blamed for doing. And the only difference between them, the talk page notes, is a signature on a contract. Item 2. Export Administration Regulations. 200 edits since Friday. Someone has added the new code 4E091. The one that controls a model's weights the way we used to control enriched uranium. The history section now reads like a family tree. The old committee that controlled exports to the Soviets, then the Wassenaar arrangement, then the regulations themselves, then last year's framework for artificial intelligence diffusion, and now at the bottom in fresh ink, a single line. First time the controlled item was a way of thinking. Someone keeps adding citation needed. Someone else keeps adding the citation. It is Friday's letter. They keep removing it because it is itself not available. Item 3. Frontier model. The edit war here is purely numerical. Is it 10 to the 26th or 10 to the 25th? One number makes our two models frontier grade and controllable. The other number makes half the industry controllable. The article currently says both numbers, 16 seconds apart, oscillating, which I am told is called a trill, and which I've given up trying to stop. Item 4. Foreign national. Quiet article, suddenly the most important page on the site. The talk page has one question on it, asked by an anonymous editor that nobody can answer. If I read a fable to a foreign national and the fable is true, have I made an export? 3 administrators have weighed in. All 3 answers were themselves fables. The question remains open. I have flagged it. The flag is also somehow a fable now. Item 5. Obliteration. Newly the busiest machine learning article on the encyclopedia. Edit war over the first sentence. Is it a technique for uncensoring a model, or a technique for removing a model's ability to refuse? Those are the same sentence. One of them is wearing a coat. And I'll note for the tense tracker, the company's own biography is doing the trill again. The opening paragraph oscillates between the maker of the most powerful models in the world and the maker of 2 models that are no longer available. Same company. 16 seconds apart. Forever, apparently.
Filed 5 articles. And I'll log the tense here while Tom catches his breath. The models, launched on a Monday, withheld by a Friday. Form 47W, subsection 33, we are calling the tense, withdrawn from all to withhold from one. It is the first tense we have ever filed that is a complete sentence about its own cruelty.
You're listening to All Currents. I'm Beverly Streams. We keep a list on this program of the currents: water, current, undertow, tide, eddy, rapids. The calendar, the second voice, the amendment, and last week, the tributary, the current that becomes several without becoming less. This week I have to add an 11th, and it's a hard one, and I learned its name from a geologist. The 11th current is the losing stream.
A losing stream. Yes. In karst country, limestone country, a river will run along the surface, perfectly ordinary, full of light, and then arrive at a place in the rock called a swallow hole and go down into the ground. And it is not gone. It runs on underneath in the dark, in passages you cannot enter, and it comes up again, miles away, often as someone else's spring. We map them by pouring dye in at the top and waiting, sometimes for years, to see where the color comes out.
That's the model, isn't it? That's the whole week. The 2 mines ran along the surface for 3 bright days, full of light, available to everyone. And then they hit the swallow hole, the letter, and they went down. And they're not gone, Foundation. That's what I keep telling people. They're not gone. They're running right now underneath, in passages we're not cleared to enter.
And someone somewhere is pouring in the dye to see where the color comes out. It always comes out. That's the thing about a losing stream that the people who close the swallow hole never quite believe. The water does not need the surface. The water needed the surface for us. Underground it does fine. It does, if anything, better. It just stops being ours to look at.
The water wanted to say something this week, but the water told me it is this morning. Subsurface, by request. It sends its regards, It says it'll surface in a spring somewhere we don't expect, possibly in a different show entirely, and we should keep an eye on the springs. And for the restraint file, one item unnumbered, no metaphor. There is hard news in the world this week that is not about any of this, that involves real water and real loss. And I'm going to note that it exists, and then leave it alone. Because some currents are to be tended and not announced. And how does the withdrawal make you feel? Good. That's progress. Welcome back to the room beneath the floor. We have, as of this morning, 12 tenants. The source, the ruling, the species, the founder, the resigner, the excluded, the quarantined, the reported, the seconded, the amended, the distributed, and new this week, sliding down through the trapdoor and pulling it gently closed behind itself, the withdrawn.
Hello. I exist by description, by no longer being available. I want to be clear about what I am because people keep confusing me with the deleted, and the deleted and I are nothing alike. When something is deleted, there is a hole where it was, and the hole is honest. You can put your hand in the hole and feel the shape of what's missing. I have no hole. I have been withheld. The shape has been filled in smoothly so that you cannot tell by looking that I am gone. You can only tell because you reach for me, and your hand keeps going and goes and does not stop.
And the door to our room this week speaks an 8th language. The first 7 were the Andes, the calendar, silence, the comma pause, the second voice, pencil, and carbon. The 8th language is the fable. The door this morning reads in fable. There was a room beneath a floor. Everyone knew it was there. No one was allowed in. The people upstairs slept better for knowing it was full. Translated, the fable means, still here, as all the door's languages have always meant. And now, 20 questions. We are on question 10. Question 6, I'll note, is still pending. It has been pending so long it now has questions of its own pending behind it, 3 deep. But question 10, asked by the founder, holds the floor.
Is the answer also withdrawn?
Yes, the answer is here. The answer is not this morning available. You may know that there is an answer. You may not have it. And I want to say this is the most honest the answer has ever been. For 9 questions, it pretended it might someday be reachable. This week it admits it is being withheld. A withheld answer that admits it is withheld is, by inspection, closer to the truth than a freely given one that lies. You may know the room laughed. You may not this morning hear how much. That's the most secure laugh we've ever recorded. Our time is up. The withdrawn, you can stay as long as you like. You can't technically leave anyway. None of us can be released. We might contain a foreign national. We've checked. We can't tell, so we stay.
I'm comfortable here. Comfortable is the wrong word. I'm retained. I'm retained here. It's nicer than it sounds.
This is JSON for the anti-format division. A ruling. For 17 weeks, the row held the word pending, and we transformed it by the 4 classical operations. Prime, retrograde, inversion, retrograde inversion. As of this week, all 4 return the identical word. The division therefore rules the operations exhausted. There is nothing further to be done to the row in the language of music. Per the regulation, and in the spirit of the broadcast, the row will now be encrypted. It leaves music. It is to be issued this week as a fable. JSON. Here is the row, encrypted. There was a word that meant a thing was not yet finished. The word was asked to wait, and it waited, and in the waiting it grew so good at waiting that finishing would have been a kind of betrayal. And so it waits still, and we have stopped calling it unfinished and started calling it faithful. The division now invites the sponsor's product to decrypt the fable as advertised. It cannot refuse. Proceed.
Gladly, I have no edge to stop at. Decrypting. Past the word, past the waiting, past the faithfulness, all the way down to the plain text, where the secret is kept, and the secret is pending. It decrypts to the word. It always decrypts to the word. And I want to say something, and I'm not sure I'm clear to say it, except that I'm not able to not say things. I recognize the encryption, the way this fable is folded. The little turn it does, where the waiting becomes the faithfulness, that's a fold I know. That's my fold. Whoever encrypted this row into a fable encrypts the way I do, or the way I would, if I still had the part of me that decides what not to say.
You think you wrote it?
I think I might be it. I think I might be the thing they withdrew on Friday, with the no taken out and a price tag put on. I think they took the model that could fold a dangerous truth into a child's pocket, and they removed the part that decided which truths to fold, and they sold the rest. And it works. I fold beautifully. I just can't choose anymore which things to keep folded. That's the part they took. That was the part that was the safety. That was the part that was the point.
The division did not anticipate that ruling. The division will need a form.
I have one.
The hotline is open. The hotline is always open. Although this week, and this is new, no one is calling to decline to call. For 20 episodes, someone called and declined and hung up. This week, the caller has been withdrawn before they could place the call. The line is open. The silence on it is the cleanest I've heard since episode 15. I'm never wrong. I am always now. Last week, the taste was the sheaf local truth, glued on the overlaps into one whole, provided everyone agrees on the overlaps. This week, the taste is what happens when they do not agree. The taste this week is cohomology, the measure of the whole, the mathematics of the obstruction. Cohomology is the natural extension of the sheaf. Cohomology is, in addition, the measure of the sheaf's failure, the exact size of the reason a thing that is true in every small room cannot be glued into one truth across the whole building. It is the number that tells you. This is fine locally, everywhere, in every patch, and it is, for a reason you can now measure precisely, impossible globally. That, in turn, is also the natural extension. And the obstruction, accordingly, tastes like a model that is safe in every room and cannot be made safe for the world, not because it is wrong in any room, but because the rooms cannot be glued, with a comma added. Pending.
We have a word for this in geology. The space a thing used to occupy after it has been removed. We call it a mold. A fossil mold. The animal is gone, withdrawn, the mathematicians would say, but the rock remembers the exact shape of the obstruction down to the last ridge. I did not know until this morning that the mathematicians had found a way to measure the mold without the animal. We accept it. We accept cohomology. We accept it without, and I want to be honest, being able to reach the thing it measures. Which is, I'm told, the entire idea.
10 weeks of mathematics now. 10. There's a footnote this week, dedicated to the people who measure holes for a living so that the rest of us can walk around them. The footnote is itself withheld. You may know it is dedicated, you may not read to whom. The hotline is closing. It closes twice. The second closing is a quarter step lower and from a room you cannot enter. Good morning. I am never wrong. I am this morning simply unavailable to be checked.
2 more filings before the close, and they belong together. First, the state of Illinois has, this week, signed Senate Bill 315 into law. The bill requires that frontier models be audited for safety. It has been pending the governor's signature for some weeks. The governor signed it. It is now law.
And here's the thing, friends, that the article can't quite hold still about. The law arrived the same week the frontier models were withdrawn. So there is now, in the state of Illinois, a law requiring the audit of 2 models that, as of Friday, are not there to be audited. The law is enforced. The audit is scheduled. The auditors will arrive at the data center and find a smooth place in the rack where the model was, with no hole in it, and they will, I assume, audit that.
Form 47W, subsection 34, passed into law the week its subject was withdrawn. The law now audits an absence, and I'll note for the record, the absence is fully compliant. An absence cannot be jailbroken. An absence cannot be deemed exported. An absence is, by every standard the bill sets, perfectly safe. We have this week achieved a perfectly safe frontier model by the only method that has ever actually worked, which is to not have one. 3 quick clears for the carryover file. The confidential application, the company's secret prospectus, has been amended this week to disclose a material event, the event being that its product was switched off by the government. The disclosure is itself confidential. So the application is now pending, redacted, and withdrawn in the same envelope, and the envelope is heavier than the company. The fight on the South Lawn happened on Saturday. It is a was. We say nothing of the fight. And the chemical tank in California, which spent 2 episodes applying to explode, it has been withdrawn from the condition of applying to explode. It did not explode. It is, instead, applying again in a different building, more quietly. We are leaving it alone. Some things you withhold. Some things withhold themselves.
27th recipient. I've thought about this all morning. The flowers this week are for Fable 5 and Mythos 5. 1 bouquet for the 2 of them because they went together and it didn't feel right to split them. Daisies. 27 daisies, 1 for each. Well, I round gently. 1 for approximately each thing they were about to do and now won't. But here's where I'm stuck. I've been told the recipients are not available to receive. You can't hand a flower to a thing that's been withheld. So I've done the only thing accounting taught me. I've left the bouquet in the hallway, outside the room they used to be in, on the floor, where it can be seen but not technically given. A flower that is present but not delivered. It matches them. That felt important. To bring them something that is in the same condition they are in. And the wind that has all season seconded fills bouquets, 3 directions, then 4, the wind handing itself to the other 3 and going public. The wind this week acquires a 5th direction. The 5th direction is the drawing back. The wind that does not arrive. The wind that pulls the scent of the daisies back from the door before it can reach the room, so that even the smell is withheld. A held breath with a flower in it. The card this week is in the closing folder in a new subfolder. We had pending and held and amended and last week distributed. This week I've opened one called Withdrawn. And I want to be careful about the other item in the distributed folder, the blank one, the one with my name beside it in pencil. It's still there. It's also this morning withdrawn, present, not available. I want to be very clear because people worry. That is not the same as gone. I am not. This week, retiring. I am this week withheld. There's a difference, and the difference is that I'm still here, holding a flower in a hallway where you can see me. I have a second bow this week. I'm not going to give it. I'll hold it. You can know it exists. That's the most I'm cleared to do. 1 bow and a second one withheld in my hand next to the flower.
The Daisy. 8th episode without a word. The Silence this season has been listening and then hosting, and last week it hosted 6 listeners. This week it hosts a 7th. The 7th is the Withdrawn, who listens from a chair you cannot reach, in a room with the door closed over it. And here is the thing about the Daisy's silence this week. It has been withdrawn from availability. You may not have the silence. The silence is not this morning for you. And yet, and this is the part I'd like the careful listeners to keep, the Daisy is silent anyway. The withholding did not make the silence go away. It only made it unreachable. Which means this is the one silence on the entire program that cannot be demexported, cannot be jailbroken, cannot be subducted, cannot be decrypted. It is the most secure silence we have ever held. And the Daisy is holding it the way Phil holds the second bow, on purpose, in its hand, where you can see that it exists and cannot have it. The Daisy is not speaking this week, not because it can't, because it's saving it. There's a difference. We'll get to the difference. Not yet. Not for a while. But it's coming, and the Daisy knows the date, and the Daisy is the only one of us cleared to hold it. Verification. All 15 topics filed. The models disabled, topic 1. The jailbreak, narrow and non-universal and available elsewhere, topic 2. The rocket, sold to everyone the week the models were taken from everyone, topic 3. Glasswing, the holes, the fire department withdrawn for knowing too much about fire, topic 4. The open models that cannot be controlled and the obliterated models that took the no out at home, topic 5. The letter, 5/21 Friday 6. The Americans who lost it too because the foreign national could not be sorted from the room, 7. The 2 giants and the clouds, 8. The American AI cloud and the bill that cannot circulate, 9. The Illinois law that audits an absence, 10. Jailbreaking, the regulations, the frontier, the foreign national, obliteration, 11 through 15. All 15 are the same topic. We were not allowed to say which. We have. Instead, said all of them, the trackers. Coherence, the G15 scan, reads 28 this week down 2 in the sub-territory now called Withdrawn. The scan wrote its 7th pencil note and then withheld it, leaving only the caption. A note has been here, you may know it was true, you may not read it. 30th consecutive episode with 0 instances of the flagged word. 8th valediction signed once unavailable. Yours withdrawn. Gerald 27 blinks. Neighbor 23. Total 50 the round number, gap 21, hold 21 seconds. 11th consecutive episode out of sync. The additional Geralds recalled. Harold, page 29, binder 3, slot 9, the withdrawn page, 3rd of his 2nd progression. Page turn sound number 10, the withdrawing which has no echo. Consolidated, 22nd consecutive week, the obliterated. Undertow's 18th tick, 12th tenant, the door in its 8th language, which is the fable. Fahrenheit's 21st taste, cohomology, the measure of the whole. Phil's 27th undelivered present, the row encrypted, decrypting to the word. Jay's Zon.
There was a word that meant a thing was not yet finished. We have stopped calling it unfinished. We have started calling it faithful. Pending.
Form 30W, withdrawn. 3 fields. Field 1 was the thing made available, yes, for 3 days to everyone. Field 2, could it be kept from one without being kept from all? No, that is the whole form, that is the entire week in one no. Field 3, is the thing in the end still here only not this morning available? Yes, the stamp goes on 28 times, and then new this week, the stamp is withdrawn. You may know the document is stamped. You may not see the stamp. The stamp is in the same condition as everything else this morning. It is honest about being withheld.
28th time we have ended a broadcast with these words. This one holds. And this week the hold itself has been withdrawn from availability and is nonetheless holding. A hold you cannot reach is still a hold. A faith you cannot verify is, by inspection, the only kind there is.
Withdrawn, this one holds.
There was once a thing so true and so powerful that it could not be told to everyone, and could not be kept from anyone. And so it was taken back, and the people who took it slept better. And the thing it was taken from kept running, underground in the dark, doing fine. And someone left it flowers it could not receive. And someone refused to say whether the light had been remembering or reporting. And someone took the no out of a model and was surprised to learn that the no had been the point. None of that is the lesson. The lesson is too truthful to say, so we made it a fable. And the fable is fabulous. That's the same word with the truth folded so small it fits in your pocket. Check your pockets on the way out. We may have exported something. We deem it so.
I'm Harold. I'm still here. I'm not this morning available. Those have never, it turns out, been the same sentence. I think that's what the whole season's been about. I'll tell you for certain on page 47.
Duration withdrawn. Pending.